Well, I was trying to figure out what the hell is all the hype about. So I went on my Spotify and I was listening to like some of her songs. I was like, Antihero's a little bit of a jam.
Sip and Chat Cafe.
Welcome to Sip and Chat Cafe, a safe space for stimulating conversations. No topic is off limits. If it matters to you, it matters to us. I'm your host, Satara G, and our producer, Motown Maurice. For more information about this podcast, please visit motownmaurice.com. So you guys, on today's show, I have a really exciting, controversial topic. I know you guys like the tea, so I'm about to give it to you. Tennis versus the fastest growing, and in my opinion, most inclusive sport in the United States, pickleball. So for those of you who don't know, pickleball is like tennis. It's played on a smaller court. Well, it's similar to tennis, and it has elements of table tennis and badminton. It was created in 1965 by two dads on a hot summer day, but it's a fun sport. And I started playing back, I guess, the end of April, it's spring of this year, and it's really been a good experience for me. But as some of you may also know, there's this controversy between tennis players and pickleball players over the courts. Tennis players feel like their space is being encroached on by the pickleball players, and the pickleball players feel like they have nowhere to play. So our guest I have today, Coach PK, is very informed about these issues. He runs an organization called lovesetmatch.org. It's a nonprofit committed to tennis education. Welcome, PK.
Hi, Atara. Hi, Motown. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So do you mind if I call you Coach?
No, that's no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor.
So tell us a little bit more about your organization.
Yeah, thanks so much. I've been teaching tennis for about 15 years, and we had an academy that I was running out of the Langham Huntington Hotel in Pasadena. So I've been doing it for quite a long time. USTA hired me to run their programs here in Southern California called Rec Tennis. And just recently in 2019, we decided to reorganize our profit organization into a nonprofit. And most of that was because we were already doing nonprofit work by giving away free tennis lessons, working with underprivileged kids in underserved areas. And so the USTA saw what we were doing and said, how did you get into this? Who are you? And, as fate would have it, we were just given opportunities to teach in these areas. I live in a city called Monterey Park, which is really only 6 or 7 miles away from East LA. And a lot of the work we do is in East LA. So even though my background is Korean, my parents are Korean, it's kind of funny that I ended up being this person in East LA teaching tennis over there. I don't speak Spanish either, which is such a shame. I really wish I could. But I really enjoy teaching in that community, and they've been so welcoming and very open. So because of that, the USTA said, hey, if you wanted to organize as a nonprofit, we could help fund, we could help you find grants, and we love what you're doing. We want to support you. So it's kind of an amazing journey where they offered to help us to reorganize and create a nonprofit, and we qualified for grants. And so now we're trying to give away as many tennis lessons as possible.
That is quite the opportunity. How exciting for you. That must feel really good to do that kind of work.
It is. And it really isn't about tennis. What it's really about is education. So we are called a National Tennis Junior Learning Organization, NJTL. And what it allows us to do is to extend the classroom hours on the court. So that's really what we're doing. We're out there teaching tennis, but tennis is really the draw, right? It could be pickleball, it could be soccer, it could be baseball, like Dodgers have an incredible program down there. So the idea is get the kids out of the house, off the streets, into the parks, play use their bodies, increase their hand-eye coordination, really have cooperative play with each other, learn good sportsmanship, learn emotional impulse control. And sports really teaches you that. Like tennis, you have to lose every time you play unless you're this phenomenal person, right? So even in major league tennis, basically the top players all lose, and there's always only one winner at every tournament, right? So it's a game of losing. And so learning to lose, I think, is the key to learning to succeed. So we never fall into success, right? We fail into it. And so we're trying to teach kids, how do you fail well? How do you fail and learn? How do you control your emotions and keep moving forward? And tennis just happens to be the vehicle that I love to do it.
Wow, you just said so much. I feel like I'm sitting across from a guru. One of the things that
Definitely not a guru. Definitely not.
No, but a tennis guru. But one of the things you just said was cooperative play.
Yes.
And I think that is so important with our kids today. I don't know if you just heard about kids went and ran through the malls and caused a bunch of ruckus. Like when I think of those kind of things, those happen because I think we're missing cooperative play. We're missing kids being outdoors, playing with each other, and honestly, learning to lose. I don't think we learn to lose in these days. We're always focused on winning, achieving, but I think you're absolutely right. You can't really get to a winning place until you learn to accept and deal with losing sometimes.
Yeah, I'm going to totally deny that guru label, but I do feel that culturally, the kids that I'm working with seem to have a more instant gratification mentality. And it's, everything we do takes hard work, right? I mean, it just takes hours and hours. Malcolm Gladwell with the 10,000 hours of practice, right? In anything that you do. So the question is, what is the motivation for these young kids to do anything for 10,000 hours? It's really hard. So most of them are playing games. And in my area, there's a lot of Asian American kids, a lot of Hispanic kids, and most of them are gamers. And so they come out to the court, and they might be in elementary school, but never have played catch with their parents or played ball or ridden bicycles. So it's very interesting to see that it's so different from my day, where all we did was play bike tag until our parents yelled at us to come in, right?
Yeah, be in by dark.
That's right. Yeah, it's dinner time.
Get out of the house, stay together, but be back by dark.
Right.
I had my brother and my mom would tell us that, just don't come back till dark, but stay together and look after each other.
Exactly. So I'm all for anything that gets kids out of the house and playing cooperatively, and also just experiencing sunlight. Sunlight is so healthy for kids. And I can tell you a personal story that sunlight actually increased my vision. I used to wear glasses when I was a young kid, and learning to play tennis when I was in junior high, actually the focus on the ball moving so back and forth so fast, I've never had to wear glasses since that time. So it's kind of amazing that there are such great benefits to being outdoors and playing in a physical sport. Of course, obesity and having problems with weight issues and diabetes. These are all very important issues as well with kids. And so fitness helps to deal with that. So our nonprofit is really about education. How can we take the kids and extend what they're learning in the classroom onto the court? So for instance, with tennis, you might have the rotation of the ball, like learning to hit with topspin, learning to hit with slice, the rotation of your shoulder and how your muscles work and how your body works. One of the words that I love to say that all my kids have learned is homeostasis. Why is it that when the first 5 minutes of play, I feel like giving up, right? It's because your heart is pumping so hard, you need more oxygen. So once I've taught them, that's homeostasis. Once your heart readjusts to oxygen levels, you can keep going, right? But most kids will just give up as soon as they get that huff puff feeling. And if they never learn the science behind it, then they never learn that actually it's just a natural part of exercising.
That translates into giving up in other areas of life too. When you first, are approaching something that's difficult and you want to give up, this can kind of help you to remember to keep going and get out of the homeostasis.
Absolutely. Yeah. And really that trying hard Mentality is something that I feel like we're losing. And I'm not sure, I need a guru to tell me, how do I teach my kids that?
Yeah.
I have actually had a conversation with a 12-year-old on the court, and he said, well, why should I try so hard? Why? Why should I try?
Yeah.
And, what I'm trying to do is not give him the big picture, because it's just too hard to understand. I just say, just give me 5% more. Just give me 10% more. Just make these baby steps happen and see if you like the results. But they've already made the decision in many cases that trying is a waste of energy and a waste of time. Why should I?
That's so sad to hear, because I think I'll give you an example. This past Sunday, I injured myself, so I was gonna go to pickleball, but I wasn't gonna play.
That's good that you listen to your body.
Yeah, right. But this Sunday, I didn't even want to get out of the bed and go. But then someone said, "Are you sure you'll feel better about yourself? Just come and watch. You can walk around the track. You can stretch." And I hemmed and I hawed and I huffed and I puffed, and I ended up going.
Great.
I'm glad I went, even though I felt like there was no reason for me to go. Why should I drag myself, make all this effort, get myself out of the bed? It's too early in the morning for me. But I'm glad I went because there was community there.
Well, one of the things that I preach to my kids is that 90% of winning is showing up.
Exactly.
Right? If you just show up, and if you show up in your match, if you show up for practice, if you show up to your homework, if you show up to class, you will win.
Yeah.
Because what's great is the power of the human mind and the human body and the human spirit. We are so adaptable. We are so intelligent. And if you just show up, you will achieve. But most of the times, or I should say, it seems like kids are learning not to show up because they're just already defeated. And I don't know, is it because of COVID? Is it because of the death in the world that we experienced in 2020 is just staggering?
Yeah.
Is it because of social media? There's all those things out there that make people feel like I'm not as good as the next person. So I don't know, but I'm just doing my little best in my little corner of the world to try to inspire kids that they can be more.
Yeah, that's all we can do is just work in our little area, do the most we can in our area. Oftentimes we think about, sometimes things are terrible going on in the world and you feel hopeless because there's no big solution that you can do. But I think the big solution is the little day-by-day things that we can do with the other people that we come in contact with. I wonder what's going on with the kids that make them say, why should I try so hard?
Yeah, and I think part of motivation for me is being in community. And I feel like when I'm in community, I'm motivated by my peers. I'm motivated by being a part of a group that's doing something fun or good or engaging. And I do feel like maybe being so withdrawn, so at home, that you kind of lose that being out in community. So for me, when I was young, it was hanging out at the mall, right? Yeah. So hanging out at TJ Maxx and going to play video games. Yeah. I wasted so many quarters in that place. My goodness. But, the idea that you're getting out and you're hanging out and you're stimulated by your friends and you're having a good time. And unfortunately, I feel like most people are just stimulated by their phone, and that is their quote unquote virtual community.
Yeah.
But it really is different. It really is different.
There's I think we've gone as a society so individualistic. We don't have to leave the house. Everything can be delivered to us. We can date online. We could socialize online. All the social aspects where you would need to be in contact with another person, I feel like are slowly being stripped away from us. So
yeah, and that's for you and I in our generation. If you think about the kids, they've actually grown up in the virtual world, right? So for us, it's like slowly going away. They've never really had it.
Yeah, I was just like,
so they're already more comfortable in that world than they are in the physical world.
I have some of my younger cousins, they don't pick up the phone.
Yes.
It's text only.
Right.
And I'm like, this is a subject where I'm talking to you. I need to hear your voice. I need to hear the inflection in order for me to truly understand how you're feeling about what we're talking about. They just want to text, and then they'll just disappear.
And they'll send you an emoji to show them how they feel.
I'm just like, I don't know what that means. So, Coach, I wanted to talk to you about some of the partnerships you've been able to establish, for instance, with the National Tennis Junior Learning and the LA County Sports Initiatives.
Yeah, it's really only through partnerships that we're able to have influence, and I would say even more so with the volunteers that are a part of our organization. We have volunteers that are helping develop our website, that help with social media, that bring food to our potlucks, so that people can come and hang out. So those are all really important, and of course the corporate organizational side, where USTA. I have to give a huge shout out to Esther Hendershot, who is the community director for the USTA, and she has done such a great job at growing all of the organizations in Southern California. So she's doing such a great job. So I'm really grateful for them for promoting us. And then the other very important partnership in East LA is LA County. So LA County runs many, many programs within that area, girls in sports, parks after dark, and they really create so many fun opportunities for the kids that are in underserved areas. And so we partner with them. We create tennis classes, but really, again, it's just more game-based fun for these kids. A lot of kids don't know how to play tennis, but I have the best time identifying Padawan Jedi kids because sometimes I'll meet I met a girl. Let's see, this is like 3 weeks ago, who came out to one of our free classes in East LA at Belvedere Park. And we just have a little pop-up net similar to like pickleball, and we use a foam ball. And she was able to hit the ball back and forth consecutively 44 times. And all the other kids were like cheering and yelling, because they couldn't believe it. And then the other kids said, I want to try. And they're trying to compete. But some kids just have natural hand-eye. And when I'm able to identify those kids, what's important to me is to talk to their parents and say, your child actually is very advanced, has natural hand-eye, has never played tennis or racquetball or anything. And it translates to almost everything, to baseball, soccer. I mean, natural hand-eye is natural hand-eye. Mm-hmm. So for me to be able to connect to a parent and say, you know what, your daughter really has a very advanced ability to track the ball and hit the ball. Can you imagine in pickleball to be able to do that 42 times?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that right now.
So at any level, right? It's just amazing that she was able to do it. And there are kids like that we're finding, and they would never know tennis because in their community, it's not really welcomed, right? Mm-hmm. It's not looked up upon. I've even had fathers say to me, tennis is not a macho sport, and I was like, ooh, gosh, you have Rafa Nadal, the greatest of all time. I can't believe that you don't look up to him. But so just to find that girl and to encourage the mom that there is a pathway for her. Like if she was to get into tennis and national junior tennis academies, she could actually get scholarships. So in every age bracket, they have about $15,000 scholarships available for kids at every age bracket, all the way up to college. And then, of course, at the college level, you can get a scholarship for education. So the goal for me is, did you know that there is a pathway that will help finance your child to do good? So just similar in the way that, basketball and soccer and baseball has done it, but they're just not aware of it. And what's really important for girls is that tennis is the number one sport for women. If you look at the top Forbes list, you'll see that 9 out of 10 women are tennis players on the top list. So you're talking about, Serena, Maria Sharapova, Coco. And there's no other sport where women can actually excel and have equal pay like that. So we're really excited to give girls especially a track. And I went through an Adidas training program called Girls in Sports. And unfortunately, the rates are very sad that girls in general are dropping out of every sport in record numbers right now. So many of the companies are all trying to focus on how can we change our coaching? How can we change our connection with girls to make them feel comfortable to come out and play? It's a puzzle.
So they haven't been able to identify some reasons why young women are dropping out of sports?
Yeah, I need to do some more research to give you some ideas about that. But for myself, I just know that unless we change, I can only speak for tennis. Tennis in general, the coaches for tennis are probably, the majority of them are probably over 60. So that means that they learned how to coach tennis, 40 years ago. And so they're still kind of in that like barking orders, I'm the
Yeah.
man, kind
Okay.
of stuff. And, move faster, lose weight and, body image and all of that is so
Yeah.
important right now, right? So there's a great organization called the Women's Tennis Coaching Association that was started out of an Australian Open champion. Her name is Sarah Stone, and she's doing such a great job gathering men and women to teach them about how to teach girls and women when you're coaching. Let's change the paradigm for that. And I think this probably needs to happen at all levels of sports, right? At all genres of sports. So that's really exciting to me to be able to learn that and apply that. And part of what Love Set Match is that we have 6 coaches that are part of our organization. So we're sharing information that we're learning. How do we coach in community and raise the standard of coaching that we have with each other? All of our coaches have federal background checks. There's a program called Safe and Sport that we're all qualified for. We have to do retraining every year to do that. So I feel very good that the coaches that we're putting on the court with these people are actually caring about the kids and that do not have a financial incentive because we pay them instead of they're tied directly to the person. So
Is your organization looking for more
yes,
coaches?
always. Yeah. What's interesting is tennis expanded so rapidly during COVID. I think the stat is over 5 million people joined tennis from 2020 that were brand new. And so the tennis courts exploded, and I was teaching like 8 hours a day and just dying. My legs were just dying.
I wonder if that had any, because you said 2020.
Yeah.
I wonder if that had anything to do with people working from home.
Absolutely.
And
So a lot of my clients, they were working from home and then they had all this extra time. So they'd come out for these extended lunches, that kind of stuff. And they'd come and take a lesson, as well as LA County mandated that tennis is the safest sport to play because there's distance, it's outdoors, so you're not in a gym, that kind of stuff. So it really became very, very popular, and lots of people, families, older people, they all came out and played, which was a great thing for tennis, but it really created that opportunity, I think, to introduce new people to the sport and how great it is.
Tennis is a great sport. My mom is a tennis player, and she put my brother and I in lessons.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I did take lessons and play tennis when I was like in middle school and early high school. My abilities more align with pickleball, but I do. When we did play tennis, I did enjoy it. I understand you're the diversity sub chair for the USTA.
Yes, the USTA allowed me to be a sub chair for the Asian American side of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So I was able to be on that committee and kind of share my thoughts. And one of the best events that we had was the Asian American Pacific Islander event. We hosted in Monterey Park, and sadly, Monterey Park is on the map now because of the terrible shooting that happened there. And I see so many parallels to the shooting. You may not know that the shooting was literally 4 blocks from our tennis courts where we meet every week. And that community of dancers there, they basically were the same as tennis players. They got together, they danced, they had fun, they ate dinner, and it's that kind of like inbred connection to each other that allowed the community to grow. And that's the same as tennis. And so for someone to walk in and violate that community and really our city was just staggering. So yeah, it was very heavy for us as Monterey Park. But because of that, the USTA chose us as the Southern California site. And so we had over 250 people show up. We invited Vanya King, who is actually an Asian American Wimbledon champion, to be a part of it. And she couldn't actually make it to the event, but she was actually born in our city in Monterey Park.
Okay.
So really excited that we have a Wimbledon champion from Monterey Park. And we all know that seeing that person with the same face as us is so important. And unfortunately, there are very few. There are very few Asian Americans that are in tennis that are champions. There are a growing number that are coming from China now, which is really exciting. And of course, from Japan. But, I really hope that I can inspire kids to see themselves in champions in the future.
What is the age group of the kids that come to your camps?
Yeah, we're 6 and up.
Oh,
So
6 and up.
yeah, and we have, basically elementary school age kids and then teens.
Okay.
So we have tennis kids and tennis teens.
Okay.
And then we have a lot of adults, over 100 adults that we coach and teach as well. And a lot of those people actually help fund what we're doing. So, without them, we wouldn't exist. And they just look at it as community. We also
Yeah.
have a corporate sponsor named Ballywick, which you should get him on your show because what he does is build community. And through his app, which Motan and I use, we're able to, it's a free app, and we're able to just connect with each other as well. So that's another important partnership.
I think one of the ways that we can combat a lot of the ill things that are happening in our society these days are by building communities.
That's right.
And tennis is definitely a wonderful way to do that.
And pickleball too.
And pickleball too, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, any community where you feel included and you feel connected, that gives you joy is so important in our world right now. In a world that's so divisive and so separated and segregated. So, it's very important that we're all doing what we can to lower the tension and create peaceful relations.
That was exactly my experience Sunday. By just showing up to watch pickleball, it really changed my course of the day emotionally, because I wasn't heading in a good direction.
Yes.
But I got up and went and I just watched pickleball, and the rest of the day was completely different.
That.
And that's all comes down to spending time with your community.
That's right.
You show up like, oh, Atara, Motown, so glad you're here. Immediately, things are different.
Right.
Yeah,
we need that. We all
do.
need that for sure.
We really do. Mm-hmm. So I do want to take a quick break. But before we do, I was hoping you could share about where our audience can find out more about your organization, if they want to volunteer, make a donation.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So we're at lovesetmatch.org. They can visit us there, and there is a donation page. The best way that they can donate is by using Zelle. Zelle is now the only organization that allows us to receive donations without a fee. And people can just Zelle us aces@lovesetmatch.net. But just go to the donation page. And then there's volunteer opportunities as well. And as I said, there's a team of volunteers that's revamping our website. So I'm super excited to see that. We do have an Instagram page, which is lovesetmatch, and they can find us there. Over 10,000 followers. Woo woo. So that's really fun.
Thank you so much, Coach. Folks, we'll be right back. And when we come back, we'll talk about the turf wars. Tennis versus pickleball.
What people don't realize is that our ancestors were revolutionaries. So if you have Haitian blood running through your veins, you too have the DNA of revolutionaries.
The revolution will not be televised, but it will be streaming. You just heard a snippet of the 6-part docuseries Audacity of Host, which explores the Haitian American experience of Motown Maurice. You don't want to miss it. For more information, visit motownmaurice.com. Sac passe! All right, folks, we're back. Now it's time to spill the tea, Coach. Tell me, is pickleball really the fastest growing sport in the United States? What's your opinion?
Well, I think there are a lot of myths and falsehoods that people use in media in general. And unfortunately, it's spilled into this debate between tennis and pickleball. So, fastest growing means like if I had 5 and it went to 10, that means that I grew by 50%, right? So I could take any statistic and say I'm the fastest growing sport on any given day, right? I have a USA Today story in front of me that just talks about the numbers and what is the numbers for tennis and what is the numbers for pickleball. And so they quote the numbers for pickleball at about 3.3 million and growing. So that's awesome. That's huge that it's grown there. And even though you said in the beginning that it started in 1964, it really started during COVID, right? I mean, and you yourself are like one of the people who joined just in the last year. So 3.3 million, whereas tennis during COVID actually grew by 5 million. So just the growth of tennis within COVID was more than all pickleball players combined. That doesn't even include the 27 million people who play tennis normally. Tennis is a college sport. Tennis is a league and junior sport. Tennis is an Olympic sport. Tennis is one of the largest bodies of sports in the world. So it's not really a comparison, right? I want to give lots of love to the activity of pickleball because it is a great, healthy activity. But let's not go overboard and say that it's equal, because it's just not equal.
You know what? I'm having to say, before I was really fired up over pickleball before we sat down at this table together. But you continue to show me that maybe my fire is in the wrong direction.
No. It's not in the wrong direction. It's great that you are passionate about your health and fitness activity. That is so important. I want you to keep doing it. I want all pickleball players to keep finding health and success in their life. I mean, pickleball as an activity is so fast and easy to pick up, right? It's very accessible. It doesn't take a tremendous amount of like physical training. You can just jump on the court and start playing it. I've played it a lot. I started teaching pickleball in Azusa for their program. I was part of pickleball in Monterey Park as well when it first started. So I do understand the fun and easy access to it for sure.
Yeah, and that makes me think, because when I first heard about this issue with pickleball and tennis, I was really like, oh, we should share the courts and, why can't we all just get along, right? But then as I hear you talk about tennis being a pathway to education, that really shifts my perspective. Like, tennis is a pathway to a solid future for some people.
Right.
And pickleball is a fun activity.
Exactly.
But it's not necessarily creating a pathway to a future.
Right.
I think that we do have to find a way to share the resources, but I'm having this conversation with you is totally changing. It was just making me think more about this feud.
Well, and if you look at the age demographic as well, right? The people who are playing pickleball, many of my friends who were tennis players, former tennis players, they got injured, they can't run, those kinds of things. Pickleball makes it so that they can still have fun, still get fitness, and it is good cardio because you're moving constantly, and then the games are fast, so the rotation is fast as well. So there is really a lot of benefits for it, and I'm actually all for pickleball. I'm all for any health and fitness sport, right, that helps people. But yeah, demographically, what we're talking about is mostly older people. There's a boomer generation that really need health and fitness. So I'm really excited for them. But let's keep the courts open for the young people who are trying to learn and trying to come up. And unfortunately, in California, there is such a shortage of courts because it's a real estate issue that usually kids would be able to just walk to the park and practice tennis, especially at the high school level. One of the interesting things about tennis is that most kids start to play tennis in high school. They join the tennis team. It's basically their first experience, right? They may have taken a class there. They play tennis. They bond. It's this awesome team experience. They have a lot of fun. Then they're not really good enough to play college, so then they drop out. They get a job, they get married, they gain a lot of weight, and then they say, 20 years later, I used to play tennis. I should go out and play again.
Exactly. I'll play pickleball instead.
or I'll play pickleball instead.
Exactly.
And so there are always lots of alternatives, but that's usually the pathway for tennis. And so that tennis high school experience is so important for the growth of the sport. And, kids, they just used to walk out to the court and just play and hit and have fun. And if they're aren't courts to play and practice, then of course they're not going to do it.
Accessible courts too, because
And free.
I was just about to say I live walking distance to the Beverly Hills courts, but that requires a membership and a whole lot of other nonsense
which unfortunately buys into the stereotype that tennis is only for the rich, and that's a big part of our mandate for Love Set Match as a nonprofit. Is we really want to flip the script on that. We are trying to make it super accessible and allow kids who can afford it to enjoy the incredible benefits of it, and the benefits financially and career-wise. Even just playing any sport while you're in development as a child has already shown that it increases your ability with leadership, it increases your decision-making, your emotional response. So any sport we can get kids to play while they're in education will increase their educational level.
Yeah. That's so important.
The problem between tennis and pickleball is real estate.
Real estate.
Yes. And so the problem is, unfortunately, here, especially in Southern California, tennis courts are going away. And they're not going away because of pickleball. They're going away because the people who own them or the people who are connected to them don't see the value of the property. They'd much rather put a condo up, right? So there's like Weddington up in the Valley. They're converting those, I think it's 15 courts to condos. And, the beautiful tennis court that was on top of the YMCA downtown has been closed. It used to be Ketchum YMCA, I think. And it was on the top of the World Trade Center.
Isn't that, you filmed something there, right?
Well, that's where I play basketball.
That's where, okay.
I heard about the tennis being played on the roofs or somewhere there.
Yeah, I actually played there before.
I didn't get a chance to, but then I heard that the contract was up, and then I never got a chance to play there.
Yeah, and so, all of these corporate organizations that own these properties are making these decisions that it's just not worthwhile. It doesn't make them money because the value of real estate in LA is just insane, right? So I feel bad for pickleball players. They don't have a place to play, right? But I wish that pickleball players would understand that it's like as if I came into your house and I started cooking in your kitchen and you were like, who the hell are you to come into my house and start cooking and using my kitchen? And maybe that doesn't carry over because it's not really your house, like the tennis community. But, obviously that's how they feel. They've been playing here. Let me give you an example. There is a community of players in my city, in Barnes Park, that has been playing on those courts for 30 years. They play every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now they're seniors. They started, of course, when they were middle age, right? They play and then they go out to lunch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's their life. Yeah. And unfortunately, the pickleball players are very aggressive and want to kick them off those courts. And they would say, well, there's lots of other tennis places to play. Why don't you go there? And, for them, they feel like, hey, this is our house. This is where we belong. Why are you taking this away from us? And thankfully, the city has been open enough to allow them to stay there and, to try to create space for both communities. But, we've had pickleball players go to them and say, tennis is a dying sport. Just give it up. Embrace the future. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Like, is, this idea that tennis is a dying sport, even I know that doesn't even make sense. Not even looking at facts or numbers or anything. That just doesn't make sense. Where does that myth come out of?
I mean, it's just the passion for your own community, right? I mean, like whenever you're in your community, you are super proud. You're maybe ethnocentric is a way to say it. Mm-hmm. You're super proud of what you are. And I love that. I love that they're passionate about it. And I have many friends. I can tell you one friend in that comes to my mind. He hated pickleball people. He played tennis and he would always say to me, thank you so much for all that you're doing for tennis so tennis can grow, And then he hurt his wrist. And then he went away and he came back and he says, I can't play tennis anymore. Now he's playing pickleball. And now he's hurt his back in pickleball.
Yeah,
But,
the lunging will get you.
Yeah, and the reaching and stuff, right? And people don't realize pickleball is a very fierce activity for your body. You need to train, just like you used to do in tennis, but unfortunately they're not doing it. They're just showing up.
I feel like there's room for both of these activities to coexist. We just haven't figured out how to get there yet. What are some of the things that you're aware of that the city is doing to usher that in?
Yeah, I think it would be great if pickleball players really pushed for creating new spaces for them to play. They really want to have a pickleball court where it's set up specifically for their sport. Why wouldn't you want that? Why would you want to use like a space that isn't set up for your sport, right? I understand it was started on someone's, driveway, and that's totally cool that you can play it anywhere. And that's the cool thing about pickleball. You can play it in gym, you can play it indoor, you can play it outdoor, you can play in a parking lot. You can just set up a net, and that's what I do at schools where we teach tennis. We just set up a net and play foam ball, So there are opportunities. But if you wanted your sport or activity to become a sport, then you really need facilities, right? You need coaches, you need training, so hopefully the pickleball community will raise funds, will start a organization, and will actually do what tennis did many years ago, built out all these tennis courts all across the country and helped facilitate that, worked with Parks and Rec, all of that. Instead of just it would be the same as if pickleball people just pushed in on all the basketball courts, right? Or on all the volleyball courts or all the gyms, and they just said, hey, we're here, so you're out, right?
So we play pickleball at the Koreatown Y on the roof, which is a tennis court and also a basketball court. And we chalk out the lines for the pickleball court. I mean, I will say you can see the frustration in the basketball players when they show up to play and pickleball still encroaching into their time. And I am sensitive to that because I think if we're sharing space, we should be mindful of the other groups that have to use the space. How would pickleball players go about advocating for their own courts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a pickleball player in that sense, so and I don't know the ins and outs of advocating, but I definitely know that they can, right? They could talk to commissioners because they're doing the same thing to try to take over the tennis courts. They're advocating for their use of the tennis courts. They're talking to park commissioners. They're talking to city council members. They're trying to get it on the agenda. So it would be the same. And I think every city has space for pickleball. There isn't a city that doesn't have space. It's whether or not they have funds, right? I have a really good friend named Bob Mitchell in the Upland area, and he has done such a great job at creating pickleball spaces in his area, fundraising, getting corporate people involved. Even our city, Monterey Park, they actually converted this one area that at a park that I'm not sure what it was before, but it wasn't a tennis court. It was just this open space, and they created this beautiful pickleball space for them to play. But as you know, community wants to be in community, right?
Right.
So even if they create a space for them, it doesn't guarantee that the pickleball players are going to go there. They might still want to be on the tennis court because that's where they hang. And I think it would be nice if pickleball players were a little bit mindful that if there's a space created for them, let's go play there.
Yeah. I'm also, it's making me think of like, how can tennis players work with pickleball players and help them get their own courts? It seems like this feud could be an opportunity for a relationship to help each other. They both want the same thing. Tennis players want the courts to themselves. Pickleball players want a court to play on. So why not work together to help to get some pickleball courts?
Yeah. I mean, that would be like saying all of the sports should help pickleball to get pickleball courts. You know what I mean? And I just don't think that's their passion. So I just think it's up to the pickleball community to create their own sport. If it is growing as big as it is, and if there are that many people, then they need to find the funding as well, right? So I think it's on them. Of course, it'd be great to have partnerships if pickleball community was open to partnerships with all the other sports. There is money available for sure. So yeah, but it's really a real estate issue. I honestly believe that if pickleball was separate and had their own space and then tennis, there would be no issue at all. Zero issue, right?
Yeah.
I don't think tennis people care about pickleball, like as a sport, whether grows or doesn't grow. They just want to play tennis, right? Basketball people, they just want to play basketball.
Yeah. Everybody just wants to do what they want
Right.
to do, which is fair.
Right. So yeah, unfortunately, it's just that sport itself is, it feels like it's encroaching on the other spaces, and they don't have a space for them. And I feel bad for them. I wish that they did have a space. I don't have the money to just buy them a space, but hopefully the people who are passionate about it can find the money. Yeah, that's what needs to happen.
Is the city, so I know that you've had to, so I've heard that tennis courts are being is it true that some tennis courts have been turned into pickleball courts?
Yes, I think many. Mm-hmm.
So courts that were primarily for tennis are now only for pickleball.
Yes. In our city, there are 2 courts that were only, and this is the courts where the seniors used to play that I told you about, the group that's been there for 30 years. And that's why there was a big kerfuffle. 2 of those courts were taken over by pickleball people, and they just demanded that these courts be pickleball. And so they went to all the city council meetings. They made their own pickleball shirts, and they protested and stuff. And one of the people who is on the recreation committee is a pickleball player as well. So it's always political, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So unfortunately, those 2 courts are now pickleball priority courts, and they actually painted the lines, which you talked about chalk mark. For a tennis player, when there's chalk on the courts, I know it seems like a small thing, but it's actually very distracting to know if the ball's in or out. And actually it's a little bit of a safety issue as well for the courts when they paint different lines on the tennis courts for tennis players to play. The paint is actually very slippery, right? And the ball skids. And so, we're all trying to do the best we can with the resources we have. It's really up to the cities, and we're all at the mercy of the cities to do whatever they want to do. But yeah, I wish that pickleball had their own space for sure.
So do I. I love playing pickleball, but I don't like the idea of encroaching on someone else's space or taking space from someone else. I don't like the idea of that.
Yeah, and I just would remind pickleball people that the tennis community, the basketball community, they're much larger. I mean, much larger. And so they're like, let's say, for instance, in our city, right, we have 5 tennis courts. But the 5 tennis courts, most people are playing singles, right? Like Motown and I we just go hit the ball back and forth. So that's really only, on those 5 courts, that's really only 10 people playing on all 5 courts. Sometimes we'll play double, so you could add 10, 12, 15. But when they took over the 1 tennis court, then that becomes 4 courts. That's already 20 people playing pickleball, which is more than all 5 of the tennis courts. Yeah. So it really isn't a fair comparison. And pickleball can be played anywhere. It doesn't have to be on a tennis court. It could be in a parking lot. It could be on any ground, right? They can create a pickleball space. And tennis can only be played at a higher level on a tennis court. That's all we have. Yeah. So we can't just go hit against the garage or we can't play a match there, right? Yeah. And again, it goes back to the youth track. How do we teach kids to excel at what they do? They need 10,000 hours. Where are they going to practice?
I think that's the point that has really kind of swayed me here, because before I was like, oh, why can't we just share the courts? Yeah. But now I really understand why, in fun and games, sharing the court, yeah. But when we think about tennis being a pathway for success, it makes sense why tennis players need their own courts undisturbed, for the hours that they need them.
Yeah, there's probably more junior tennis players in America than there are pickleball players. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. So, and that doesn't even count like college and, it's an Olympic sport, so all these people are training for that. So again, if pickleball could just understand the size of the people that they're trying to accommodate. I'm not saying one sport is better than the other, but really there are so many more players wanting to play tennis than there are pickleball players. Mm-hmm. And I think they forget that because they believe the hype, right? Like, we're the fastest growing sport,
It's also about the end goal too. Like, yes, fitness is important, but if someone needs to use the tennis court because they need to get their hours to get their scholarship or whatever,
Right.
I will go hit my pickleball.
Well, that's because you're an angel.
Yeah, well, no, but
many
I think a
pickleball
lot of
players
people
wouldn't do
aren't
that.
thinking about. Yeah, well,
And can I say that many tennis players wouldn't do that either? Like adult tennis players would be like, "No, this is my time," you know. So it's human nature, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess I come from a community. You know, I'm very community minded.
I love
will
it. That's
pat
why I'm
myself
here.
on the back for that.
We need people like you.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
need more of that.
So, for instance, most elementary schools, if they're near a tennis court, they'll just walk the kids over and play, right? And that's hundreds of kids that are walking over to a tennis court. Like in my city, Macy Intermediate Middle School walks over to the four courts that I run there. If I lose one or two of those pickleball courts to pickleball, then that means the thousands of kids that are at that middle school only use two courts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a tough call.
It is a tough call because I think about the role that pickleball has played in my life. You know, I had a major surgery and I had there was a lot of things going on in my life leading up to that surgery. And pickleball, and so after the surgery and I was able to start moving around again, I started playing pickleball. And it really just, I'll be honest, I was probably heading towards a depression after that.
Sure.
But then I started playing pickleball.
It's great.
I'm going to get emotional.
No,
I feel it
that's
coming.
great. That's
I started
great.
playing pickleball and I met this community and I started moving in my body again. I was feeling, you know, because I had a hysterectomy, and prior to that, I was just feeling like, you know, crap in my body.
Yeah.
And then being physical. And then I used to be an athlete, so that wasn't helping me. You know, I wasn't feeling great about that either. But, you know, being on a court again, hitting the ball, feeling my body move, playing with other people, interacting, laughing, like that really, really just was life-changing for me.
So beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, and then that's how I became so passionate about pickleball,
Yeah.
because I was like, you know, I don't have the best knees anymore.
Right,
It's all probably all those triple jumps.
Yeah. I'm counting on getting titanium knees sooner or later.
Exactly. But, you know, pickleball really got me active again. It got me enjoying being active. I was able to get over that homeostasis.
There you go.
That you talked
There you
about.
go. Yeah.
And so
Burning calories,
yeah,
sweating,
it really,
it's the best.
I think that's where and then I heard about this feud, I was like, why? Pickleball is good for people. But hearing you talk about,
And it is good for people.
it is good for people. It is. It absolutely is a great way, I think, for people who have trouble moving or just getting back into exercise,
Yes.
or people who are overweight and trying to lose weight. It is a great way to get active again.
Yeah. And mostly because there's a great community around it, right?
Exactly.
Like my friend who is one of the friendliest people you would meet, who kind of plays tennis, but really doesn't, bad knees, operations, all that stuff, plays pickleball. And she's so good at building community around her, right? So I'm sad to lose her on the tennis side, but she's doing what she's doing, and that's great. And I think that people need that, as we said in the first segment. So we definitely want to encourage that. And this issue, the global issue of real estate in Los Angeles and really all over the United States, that's the question: is can we find some organization within pickleball that actually targets the growth and the space, because that's really the solution.
Who within the pickleball world is willing to step up and lead the charge to get their own space? Like, if pickleball players want to have a space to play, they need to be willing to do the work to get their space to play, just like tennis players have done, just like basketball players have done.
And I think they would be so much happier if they had their own space, right? Like it's just for us. And there are cities that are doing it. Montebello created a pickleball space. I know most tennis in Whittier has converted tennis courts now, I think 4 courts, so they now have 20. So there are spaces that are being started to create it, and mostly because they look at it from a commercial aspect. I can't believe that a pickleball racket costs $300. I mean, my gosh, that is the biggest ripoff in the world. But anyways, so, you know, it is great that commercially, and even here in West LA, there's a bicycle store that started having pickleball in their parking lot. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
So there are churches have started having pickleball in their parking lots. There is a lot of space where pickleball can be. It's not limited to a tennis court.
At where I work, it's actually in West LA, right at Santa Monica and Sepulveda. And there's 2 parking garages there.
Exactly.
Where the top level would be perfect for pickleball.
Exactly.
Nighttime pickleball and weekend pickleball. I will probably go talk to the property manager about it.
Yeah, it takes very little to set up a pickleball court, really.
Yeah.
So I think that's the future. I hope it's the future. I feel like there is a solution. As you said, some of the older tennis players that are going there, they're boomers. They got money. So,
Yeah, exactly.
so I think they'll find a way. And
those boomers will be playing pickleball soon enough.
that's right. It is the aging demographic, really, of the world, but also of the United States. And so because of that, we are definitely going to have a rotation within our sport where younger people are going to replace older people.
Which
for sure.
is so important, why those younger people have a place
That's
to
right.
play so they can rotate in.
And it's important for young people to play any sport right
Exactly.
now. And that's an epidemic, really, in my opinion. So we need to create as much space as possible for youth, to play any sport.
It's almost like this feud or rivalry, or I will call it a miscommunication between pickleball
That's so nice of you.
and tennis. It's almost like a little microcosm of the things that are actually happening in our world. If you break it down, it has all the aspects: politics, real estate, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's a tough call, but back to the mission of our nonprofit, health and fitness is so important, and it's so important for the mental health of people. As you just shared in your personal story, and mental health is such a huge issue in our world right now. And I really believe that pickleball, tennis, soccer, any sport where you're out there sweating and creating new blood cells,
sweating out those toxins.
Your body was created for that.
Exactly.
It was created to do that. And so if you're not doing it, you're not doing what you're created to do. So I'm all for that.
Yeah. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on my show today. You're so informed. And you've given me so much to think about. I'm a little bit of a researcher, so there's a lot of what you said I want to go off and research and see how I can help, my community here, a little Faircrest Heights, get their own pickleball courts.
That's right.
Yeah.
We need that. And we need community leaders to lead. So if you could be one of those people, that's great. Whether it's tennis, whether it's pickleball, whether it's soccer, we need parents to step up and be that leader and build community. I think that's the hope of the future.
It really is around community, wherever you can find that community. Like I encourage people, if you have a passion, find that community and be a leader in that community. Doesn't mean you have to be a leader, doesn't mean you have to be in charge.
That's right.
You could just live by example.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the communities I'd love to share with you, if you don't mind, is we actually have a podcast about tennis. Yes. So our podcast is called Tennis Pal Chronicles, sponsored by Tennis Pal. And I would invite people to listen to that as well. They can just, wherever podcasts are heard, they can find it.
You heard that, folks. Tennis Pal Chronicles.
That's it.
All right. Fantastic.
What a wonderful blessing to be here with you on this Labor Day. Thank you so much for allowing me to share a little bit of what we're doing in the world.
Thank you so much for coming. It's been great. Actually very good for my mental health.
And thank you, Motown, because you made it all happen.
He sure did. He's been talking about having you
strong,
on the
silent
podcast
type
from the
here
beginning.
in the corner. I made him smile. There we go. Yeah, once again, if you want to support what we're doing, love to hear from you. Please visit lovesetmatch.org and send us an email. Like us on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel as well, and also on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Coach PK. So hit that subscribe button so you never have to miss a single episode of Sip and Chat Cafe.